Paul sort of recommends that younger women should try to get remarried instead of stepping into this role of widow, because the role of widow, it's like a paid position, and he talks about that being they must be paid for properly. And you've also got in 2 Corinthians 11:2, the idea of the consecrated virgins and things. So this idea of roles in the church of widows. Now, how does that relate to Monica, and how does she? Because is it the case that at that time there was still that role of widow was probably receding somewhat in church, but is it that Jerome still is aware of this role?
Yeah, Jerome is very appreciative of it, and he writes a lot of eulogies for widows who were these kinds of leaders and who often taught him stuff, often taught wider groups of people. So they were very involved with teaching, men and women, because Jerome attests to that, himself being taught by widows. And there's a sense in which it makes sense of a lot of life to these ancient people. So it doesn't lose, so even when it loses its formal position, there's often this feeling like, Paul talks about young people that, maybe you don't seek marriage because you should be focusing. Well, he says actually don't seek marriage, and then, God will do whatever he'll do. But you don't seek marriage, you just focus in on church. And then if you are married, then you focus in on that. But then that means your ministry isn't as focused. So widowhood is this sort of, so then there's loads of people who write this stuff in the ancient world where they're like, when you get married, you've kind of given up sort of thing. And they write these kind of quite scathing sometimes things against marriage. But then for widowhood, it's
Gregory of Nyssa on virginity, it tends to be quite strongly down that road. Yeah,
and obviously it's worth mentioning he's been harsh on himself because he's widowed, and then he says so. Yeah, so for most people, widowhood is this chance, like God saying, all right, I can give you this chance to just be totally focused in on the church as if you had never been married in the first place.